Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. My name is Yakalba from Plain Tables Camp. Ba'Shem Rakah Chodash. This lesson is laws and microchips. Laws and microchips. Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come to pass. And wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. So you have to look. If you're not looking, you're not going to see the news articles, videos that were put out. They're going to pass you by, and then you're not going to have the faith, and you may lose faith. Now, this year, I believe they had protests in the Levant. Netanyahu is a member of the lawmaking, cabinet in the Levant, and I believe the bill was just passed. I believe it was passed that limiting the Supreme Court in the Levant powers. So let's listen to what she has to say. So in other words, it's easier for him to get away with shit, get away with more crimes, if he can deem the Supreme Court unreasonable, like laws that they or determinations that they come to as unreasonable, and overturn it. So limiting the power of the Supreme Court in the Levant. So let this play.
The Supreme Court down to the Israeli parliament. That's why you see all these protesters flowing back and forth behind us. They kind of are milling about this whole governmental campus, and they say that they will be here for as long as possible. Now, the protesters down by the Israeli parliament, they are forming human chains. They are being pushed back by Israeli police using water cannons. They say that they are trying to protect democracy, protect the Israeli parliament from this legislation. Now, what this legislation will do, it's one aspect of this massive judicial overhaul package that Benjamin Netanyahu's government has been trying to push through for months. But this specific legislation would strip away the Supreme Court's ability to stop government actions that the Supreme Court deems unreasonable. Now, proponents of this law say that it's necessary, that the Supreme Court, Netanyahu's government has been trying to push through for months. But this specific legislation would strip away the Supreme Court's ability to stop government actions that the Supreme Court deems unreasonable. Now, proponents of this law say that it's necessary, that the Supreme Court overreaches, that there needs to be balance. But opponents of these protesters here, that this will give the government unfettered access to essentially do what they want. Because, guys, the Supreme Court here is essentially the only check on government power because of the parliamentary system and how it's set up. Give the government unfettered access. Opponents of these protesters here, that this will give the government unfettered access to essentially do what they want. Because, guys, the Supreme Court here is essentially the only check on government power because of the parliamentary system and how it's set up. Adding to all of this drama right now, as these votes are expected to take place within the next few hours or so, is that the Prime Minister himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, has had his own major health issues. Over the weekend, he had essentially an emergency procedure to install a pacemaker after a heart monitor indicated a problem. He literally came straight from the hospital, essentially, to the Israeli parliament for these votes. That is the situation here right now, and he is indicating that he and his government will continue forward with these votes despite these protests, despite the thousands of Israeli military reservists who have said they will not heed the call to serve if this legislation passes. That causes major questions about Israel's military preparedness. It's obviously been a very tense time in this region, but they are pushing forward. This even after President Biden once again weighing in, the second time in a week, calling on Israeli leaders. He's saying it doesn't make sense for Israeli leaders to rush this. He says in a statement, the focus should be on pulling people together and finding a consensus. But we just heard from the former Prime Minister Yair Lapid, who's now opposition leader. He was speaking to the media in the Israeli parliament, saying that consensus compromise talks so far have failed. The time is running out. The clock is ticking. These votes will be taking place. But even if these votes pass and the government has the votes to do so, they do have the majority. This will likely face an immediate challenge. And where will this be challenged, guys? in the Israeli Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court could be ruling on its own positions on whether it can declare something unreasonable. And if the government doesn't listen to that, then there could be a huge other political crisis here.
In San Francisco,
So if I'm reading this right, the law did pass. So the Supreme Court's power is limited in the Levant. So basically, they got more free reign to get away with more crimes. You know that these governments are corrupt. All right. So they can more easily, get things done. And this is centered around the implant chip. Oh yeah, I got this article here. This is November, May 12th, 2020. It says Israelis who were forced to microchip by government warn against Netanyahu's plan. So this is biblical news. What the fuck you mean biblical news? Site of Noah's Ark, prophecy of our time, Zechariah 9, and Gaza war. I might get into that. So this is a Christian Zionism. Okay. So this is clearly in a well, not clearly. It could be American. Israel 365 News. I'm going to say it's Israeli. There. But that's the website. So this is centered around this. Try to find a video on YouTube, couldn't find it, and it's uncategorized. So allegedly or apparently, you have some people reporting of being forced to a microchip. Now, it doesn't get the dates on when this happened, so I just put in Control F chips. Shows up 31 times. In 1984, let's go down to the point. Several of the victims, who reportedly represent hundreds of others, came forward on a YouTube program claiming that they have been microchipped by Israeli intelligence, Mossad, and even have the X-rays to prove it. All right. Interview women who claim to have been microchipped by government intelligence forces. All right. Also claim that she was microchipped after allegedly double crossing Yitzhak Tesuva, a wealthy Israeli tycoon with apparent connections to the right people in the government. No, it says, as the broadcast begins, so this is showing about the what happened on the broadcast. So whether this happened or not, they're preparing you for this reality. As the broadcast began, I tried to find. Well, I just did a quick search. I couldn't find it on YouTube. As the broadcast begins or discusses how the chips, which are engineered using state-of-the-art technology, can be injected and cause people pain at the push of a button. She added that these chips can enact mind control, including emotions like fear, or explain that although she was also chipped, her body had an adverse reaction that pushed the chip close to the surface of her skin, making it easy for her to remove it with a needle. All right. According to Orr, I think that's a name, she now dedicates her time to helping victims of this program. Spoke of a Jerusalem woman who was injected with one of these chips and puts closets and beds in front of her door so that no one can come inside. She was sent to a psych ward. All right, so we get that. According to Orr, the chip is inserted after being sedated. All right, so they're basically saying they were pretty much forced to have these chips in them. According to Orr, the chip is about a half centimeter in size. She added that those behind it are the Mossad, Israeli intelligence services. All right. Iris tells her story. And then it tells you about symptoms. All right. Iris added that she was in the process of representing herself. I came across hundreds of other people who were also microchipped regarding the capabilities of the chip. She insisted that the chip can do anything to your body, that the chip she was injected with was designed to give me a heart attack. Okay, so these were people are saying that they went through, and this is on a Israel365news.com. All right, and it may also be fulfilling the prophecy on Revelation 16th chapter. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. All right, so noisome and grievous sore. Noisome. Sore. Yakakas. Bad. Trouble. Injurious. Destructive. Bane. Helkas. A wound producing discharge and pus, a sore, ulcer. All right. It's designed to give her a heart attack. It says the Irish also explained, ironically, when the government injects you with the chip, they want you to tell people about it. Okay. I mean, hey, this sounds. If you're not in the know, you don't understand how crazy and demonic Esau is. You think this is a damn fairy tale. All right. And that's, I guess, the chip right there. The half-centimeter microchip that Iris discovered after getting X-ray courtesy of screenshot. So I'm thinking we can see that, the white part, if I'm not mistaken. That they, let's see, government Iris injects you with, they want you to tell people about it. Because, you know, the more you tell the truth, the more people think you're lying. So they're not going to believe you anyway. That way, it would be easier to justify a ticket to the psych ward. Oh, shit. Well, there you go. I just said that, yeah. Every time I would hang up the telephone, I felt an electric shock in my shoulder where the chip was implanted, she said. These chips can send shock waves to your body that can mimic any disease, Iris claimed. The chip can even cause people to suffer what she deemed as voice to scan, which means that it can speak to people, causing them to hear voices in their heads and sound of high-pitched sirens for 24 hours at a time. That's true. Well, Satan can do that, and Esau has the technology to make you hear voices in your head, to make you try to commit S-side, sewer, and make you drive you crazy, make you want to jump out of windows. This is real. I mean, you can do the research, but I already believe I've already experienced similar things, so I don't need to do research on it. I'm already a believer. Don't know if it was, Satan or technology Esau beaming into a brain, but I'm 100% a believer in the voices being able to be projected into a person's brain and drive you crazy. 100. That's 100%. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that exists. All right. Another woman named, 24 hours at a time. That's, yeah. Whatever the time frame is. It can be perpetual. You can fucking snap. You want to end it. Another woman named Shiva, who also claimed to have been microchipped 30 years ago by the government, was also interviewed by Orr. Shiva claims that she was microchipped while under sedation for surgery. She was received in the hospital. Needless to say, she didn't consent. They injected the chip illegally. Yeah, Esau, he does experiments on people. All right? The chip is no different. All right? I was sedated. I trusted the health system. Well, there you go. And this is what was released in 2020. This is during the height of the demic. May 12, 2020. Warns against Netanyahu's plan. So I don't know where Netanyahu comes in at. Well, let's see. About the tracking children. I believe I just went into this some years ago. Lifting health ministry regulation. Netanyahu spoke about a minute about plan to inject distance sensors into children that beep when they violate social distance orders. Okay. Yeah, I believe our apostles went into this. Elders, brothers, when this happened. All right. Let's go back down. I think you get the picture. Let's finish it off. It says, ejected it illegally. When I told my colleague at work about the microchip, they threatened to fire me. You can remember, these people think differently. They're sheep when it comes to certain things anyway. Be out there, rioting, and not rioting, but protesting against giving the Israeli lawmakers more power. They're protesting against that. Part of the project is to isolate us, to alienate us from our friends and family, and to slowly kill us by torturing us. She said that one other victim was even, graped using the technology in the microchip. Shiva ends by warning that this chip can cause its victims to suddenly urinate in the middle of the streets and cause epileptic seizures. She also recalled another victim who divorced her husband, who was in the Dabaq, and because she didn't want to split their assets, he injected her with a chip as well. All right. Sheba recommended that all the victims of Israel's alleged microchip project meet to speak out and broadcast it so that people would know about their suffering. All right, so this is the account of what the capabilities of the microchip are. Whether this happened or not, I believe it happened. That's just me, and because this is, remember, Esau, he's all about control. Revelation 13 and 16, that's what that was about. Revelation 16. And he calleth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here's wisdom, let him have understanding, count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and it is 666. 666. Chi, Psi, stigma. All right. You know what stigma is by now. You should know what the mark is by now. Charagma. All right. So Habakkuk 2 and 4 says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. I mean, he's wicked. He's not righteous. And so he's doing little experiments here and there with these implant chips. And that was just trial runs, of microchip implementation. All right. Remember, Esau killed 20,000 people, and it won't be nothing. Ain't nothing to sneak a implant chip in you. There's a movie called Lazarus Project, starring Paul Walker, the Fast and the Furious guy before he died in that car accident. He discovered a implant in him. Let me see if I can find that clip, if I so have it. It's Lazarus Project, 2008 or 2006. Subject experiencing paranoia and hallucinations induced by Selene implant, skin irritation at implant site. Skin irritation at implant site. Consider implant removal if side effects persist. That's the implant. Myo inhibitor. It's Paul Walker. So doing research, it's here we go. It's not beyond belief that programs like this exist. All right. According to Orr, the Freemasons in New World Order are giving them the orders from the top. All right. So we believe that programs like this exist to microchip, and those Khazars in the Levant are behind some of the technology.